Folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. And patch 9.18 is obviously out on the live server, at least in North America and EU. Not too sure about the Asian server at the moment, but one of the major features of patch 9.18, aside from the new matchmaking algorithm, is the revamp to the light tanks. And I know somebody who really likes playing his light tanks. It's MisterCro again, and as usual, he's platooned up with Yuzna from the Kazna Crew Pro ESL sports team. This time around, however, they're joined by a third hand in the shape of Pistol, making a three-man AMX 1390 platoon. AMX 1390 is now a French Tier 9 light tank, so their top tier triple light tank platoon here on the Swamp map. Now, with the move up to Tier 9, the AMX 1390 has had a couple of changes, and most notably to do with the 90mm gun. Now it's a 4-shot autoloader, although it does have a faster reload to compensate. But with 240 damage per shot, that's an average damage, assuming all shots hit and penetrate, of 960. The problem with the 1390, and this really always was the problem with the 1390, is that you have to count on some of those shots failing to hit because of the .38 accuracy and failing to penetrate because of the 205mm of penetration. So you're almost never going to do that full 960 damage with a 4-shot clip. On the other hand, unlike the Batchat at Tier 10, you do at least have a reasonable ammunition load in this little tank. You carry 40 rounds of ammunition into battle. Now, if you're incautious in this thing, and you do get yourself into trouble early on in a game, when the tanks that you're fighting have more than 1,000 health and you can't take them out with one reload of the 90mm gun, you can mitigate that somewhat by platooning up with another 2 AMX 1390s, because even at the start of the game, there aren't many tanks in World of Tanks that have more than 3,000 health. Imagine what it must be like when you're playing World of Tanks and you come around a corner in a fast medium, for example, and find yourself facing 3 of these things, all loaded and ready to go. Or all staggering their reloads so that there's always one ready to pump 4 shots into you when another one is falling back and reloading. Which is probably a more sensible way of doing it, because that's the thing with autoloaders, they can't hold a position. Once they're reloading, they're completely vulnerable. And so what they're doing here is they're taking their turns to reload. MisterCro, ready to go. Moving up, going for the RU-251. There's one. Gets a second shot in, takes a hit in return, and finishes him off. Now, I think he was probably happy with that trade. Final shot bounces off the upper glacis of the retreating TDP, and then, wow, that guy just walked right into the T-49. Of course, the holy grail when you're in a platoon of light autoloaders is coming across one isolated enemy tank who, at best, is going to get one shot off before you just make him regret every decision he's ever made in his life. Sadly, that didn't happen today. Although, what did happen today, and those of you who've been paying attention to chat will doubtless already be aware of it, is that they found themselves on a team with a massive douche nozzle in the shape of the IS-7, who's just down there in the bottom southwestern end of the map, getting ruffle stomped by a bunch of Tier 8 heavies. The IS-7 is going to be, and has been, calling MisterCro's platoon a bunch of WN8 noobs this entire game. Apparently he doesn't like good players. He doesn't like having them on his team, at least. Which is kind of ironic for a whole bunch of reasons, because first of all, he actually has quite a good WN8 rating himself. In fact, it's actually a very good WN8 rating, which is bizarre. Oh, just a second. Carnarvon. Boom. Immobilised. Second shot. Third shot. Fourth shot takes him out. There it is. That's the dream. That's the dream come true. All 4 shots did damage without taking any return fire. Also, while it's pretty clear that the IS-7 driver is not a native English speaker, I still feel that we need to address his use of the term WN8 noob. Does he not understand what a noob is? I mean, calling a bunch of guys WN8 noobs because they're very good at the game, I'm struggling to make sense of the concept, particularly when the person doing the name calling actually has a very good WN8 rating themselves. It's a little bit of an oxymoron. And in the case of the IS-7 player, it's doubly ironic that the word oxymoron contains the word moron. Anyway, the IS-7 is dead. He just YOLO'd right into a bunch of 4 Tier 8 heavies, and yeah, didn't go down too well for him. So now he's got the rest of the game free to do nothing but rag on MisterCro and his platoon mates as they attempt to salvage the mess that he's left for them. MisterCro, reacting well in advance, is attempting to spot and delay by doing some damage to the enemy tanks that are rushing around the gap left by the IS-7's death. Now, they're mostly going to be Tier 8 heavies, but when you only have 50mm of armour at the most, you have to be respectful, even of Tier 8 heavies. Watch how he uses the bushes here to spot them, and then he attempts to pull back so he can double bush and fire without being seen, but he doesn't have the gun depression over the rear of the tank, and yes, that guy is aiming at you, and he decides, no, I'm not going to hang around for the fourth shot, and it just whizzes by the top of his turret. So that was definitely the right move. Obviously spotted, he doesn't attempt to use the final shot in the clip, and instead goes for the reload while checking to see whether or not his team are reacting to the threat posed by the two Tier 8 heavies in the cap circle, or at least approaching the cap circle, and yes, the team are heading back in this direction. And that's when the Scorpion G runs into a T-110E4, and that's really, really bad news for the Scorpion G, because the enemy T-34 is there with him as well. MisterCro spotted again, enemy artillery trying to punch his ticket, and the Scorpion G with the T-110E4 and the T-34 there is unable to get over here and put some shots into these guys, threatening the cap circle. MisterCro, with that .38 accuracy, keeps missing these shots. Spotted again, pulls back, keeps moving, waiting for the reload, ducks into the low ground here to get himself under the guns of the Tiger II and the Lerva. Now, despite the obvious threat posed by the two Tier 8 heavies in the direction of the cap circle, they're not in any rush to push forward, and they're not capping either. So the major threat at the moment is actually the enemy Scorpion G, who has just killed Yuzna, the T-110E4 and the T-34 in the middle of the map over there, and they've just taken out the Scorpion G as well, so it's just pistol, MisterCro and the Batchat artillery. So MisterCro decides, screw this. Tired of sitting around waiting for the Tiger II and the Lerva to show their faces, and he starts pumping some shots into the T-110E4 instead, and it's a one-shot kill, and of course his final shot misses. He was reasonably sure that the T-110E4 was never going to hit him while firing on the move, so that was probably worth the risk. But, well, which way are you going to go? Artillery takes the T-110E4 out. Now the two Tier 8 heavies make their presence known. It's a little late, but they finally started pushing forward. MisterCro has to take this T-34 out. T-34 is down, he took a hit in return, but, well, he still has health. He is, of course, reloading, and that's when the Scorpion G turns up. And this could have been really bad, but his tracks absorb the shots. And his gun is almost reloaded. He has the health to take another hit, and he does take another hit, but he finishes off the Scorpion G. 2 shots remaining, the T-49 is chasing him down. 1 shot connects, he's going for the reload. He has to try to stay away from this T-49. In the length of time it's going to take him to reload the gun. That does kind of unfortunately mean throwing the artillery under the bus, but the artillery does manage to land a hit on the T-49 and stun him before going down. And with the reduced mobility thanks to the stun, the T-49 screws up, drives into the map border, and that makes him an easy kill for MisterCro with the gun reloaded. He is now alone against just those 2 Tier 8 heavies, the Lerva and the King Tiger. By the way, I should probably make this absolutely clear. I'm laughing about it because I'm seeing it from MisterCro's perspective, but that Scorpion G, can you imagine if you'd been that Scorpion G driver? 2 enemy tanks left, one of them's a 1390 with multiple kills, and you catch him on the reload on low enough health that you can take him out with 2 shots, and you're going to get 2 shots into him before he reloads, and your first shot goes into his tracks and then he kills you. Yeah, probably not quite so funny from his perspective. Anyway, oh, MisterCro only has 8 rounds of ammunition left. 240 damage per shot, 8 shots, which means that at most he can expect to do 1920 damage with the ammunition remaining in his tank. Now, I know the Tiger II was on reasonably low health, but I'm pretty sure that Lerva still had a fairly substantial amount of health remaining, and you also, oh, and they are capping. Okay. So he's going to have to spot for himself and fire without taking any return damage, because he can't afford to take any return damage because he's got less than 200 health remaining. And both the Lerva and the Tiger II have guns that do more than 200 damage. So he's going to be looking for opportunities to double bush up and be able to fire into the targets that he's spotting in the cap circle, but there are only a limited number of places where you can actually do that. That's part of the whole map design. And there's the Lerva, and he still has almost all of his health. Now, he hasn't been spotted. Going for the lower glacis, and it goes into the tracks. 0.38 accuracy, even a target the size of that, you can't guarantee you're going to hit the lower glacis. But he's hit and reset the lurver, done some damage. 2 rounds remaining. Now he's looking for an opportunity to double bush and spot the Tiger 2. And if he can't double bush, and there's the Tiger 2, he just advances. So he spots him and then pulls back. So he doesn't get seen when he fires through the bush, and he's taken the Tiger 2 out. 1 shot remaining in this clip. Tiger 2 did make it easy. Either the lurver and the Tiger 2 weren't talking to each other, or the Tiger 2 just didn't have the sense to turn his front towards the direction of fire. So he was an easy kill. The lurver, on the other hand... Oh, he's left the cap circle. Wait, no, he's back in the cap circle. There he is. And his gun is pointing in this direction. And there are only a limited number of bushes available here for MisterCro to hide behind, and his gun was pointing straight at him, so yeah. Not worth the risk. Instead, he's going for the reload, switching back to regular, non-premium APCR. But he only has 3 rounds of that remaining, which means he does not have a full clip. And he only has 1 round of premium APCR left. So he has exactly 4 shots left, and he's going to have to reload to get the 4th and final shot. Which means that he can't expect, assuming every shot hits and penetrates, can't expect to do more than 960 damage. And that lurver has nearly 1200 health remaining. So, realistically, unless something spectacular happens, the best you can hope for here is a draw. He just doesn't have enough ammunition to kill the lurver unless he sets him on fire, but, well, fire extinguishers are pretty cheap. He might be able to ammo rack him, but the ammo racks on the lurver are located below the turret along the sides. Still, does have the side of the tank to shoot at here, so that's exactly what he's going for, and that was a hit, and it was a cap reset, and he did not get spotted. Multiple lines of bushes between him and the lurver. There he is, and his gun is pointing this way. 2 shots remaining. MisterCro still has not been spotted, but again the guy's gun is pointing in this direction. And there's still more than 3 minutes of the game left, so there's no sense whatsoever in taking chances. He's got to find spots where he can either put a shot into this guy's engine or attempt to hit his ammo rack, because that is the only way he is going to win this game. Or he could convince the lurver to chase after him and then rush to the enemy cap circle and cap before the lurver gets there. But, well, so far this lurver is not given many indications that he's a complete idiot, so the chances of that happening are fairly slim. So instead, he relocates once again, but not back to exactly the same bush, and there's the side of the lurver. Now, ammo rack or engine fire? Goes for the ammo rack, scores a hit. Possibly damaged the ammo rack, but definitely didn't detonate it. Final shot of regular, non-premium APCR, but once again, the lurver is using the hit indicator to point his gun in exactly the direction that these shots are coming from. So, MisterCro never fires a shot, or never fires more than 1 shot from the same location. Relocates again. 2 rounds of ammunition remaining, 1 loaded in the clip. So he's going to have to go for a reload after firing this last non-premium shot off. And then it's down to his last round of premium APCR. Now you've got 2 shots left. There's 2 minutes of the game remaining. You do not have enough ammunition to kill this guy unless you set him on fire and hope he doesn't have a fire extinguisher. Or you attempt to pop his ammo rack, but that hasn't been working so far, and frankly at this stage you're going to be lucky to ammo rack this guy. So instead, MisterCro waits. He's looking at the countdown timer to see how much of this match is remaining. And he's going to wait until there are less than 1 minute and 35 seconds remaining in the game. Call it 1 minute and 33 just to be on the safe side. Bang. There we go. Cap reset once more. And he did that on purpose, because it takes 1 minute and 40 seconds to cap. And then you get a 5 second grace period at the end of it. So there is now no way that lurver is going to win by sitting in the cap circle. If he wants to win, he now has to come after MisterCro and kill him. And good luck with that, because he's in a lurver and MisterCro's in an AMX 1390. And he has left the cap circle. He's heading in the direction where the shot came from, because he is out of options at this point. There is nothing else he can do if he wants to avoid a draw. But realistically, the lurver's not a bad tank, but you're never going to catch an AMX 1390. It's just not going to happen if that AMX 1390 does not want to be caught. The bad news, of course, is that leaving the shot until 1 minute and 33 seconds were left means that MisterCro can't win by capping either. So the best MisterCro can hope for here is a draw. Unless, with this final shot, he does manage to ammo rack that lurver. If I was a betting man, and I'm not, I would not be putting money on MisterCro ammo racking that lurver and winning a Faden's medal by killing the last enemy tank with the last round of ammunition remaining in your tank. There goes the lurver. Fruitlessly searching for where MisterCro last was. MisterCro lines up the shot with the last round of ammunition remaining in the tank. Faden's medal? Nope, it missed. Nobody's that lucky. Sadly, this one was in fact a draw. But it wasn't just any old draw. That was an ace tanker, high caliber, defender, sniper, Top Gun draw. Which is thoroughly depressing. So in order to make up for it, we've got another game with MisterCro and Yzna, only this time they're on Winter Ruinberg in the WZ-132A, the all-new, all-singing, all-dancing Chinese Tier 9 light tank, which is pretty much not entirely dissimilar to the Tier 8, the WZ-132. And to be completely fair, there are very, very minor differences between these two tanks. Aside from the length of the tank, the WZ-132 is basically a shortened version of the... Oh, sorry, the WZ-132A is basically a shortened version of the WZ-132. That was it. That's what the Chinese wanted. They said, we like this tank, make it smaller. The Chinese know what they like, and they like what they bloody well know. There are obviously some other differences. The 132A has better engine power, and a better horsepower per ton ratio, and it also has slightly better DPM on the 100mm gun. But other than that, if you like the 132, expect more of the same on the 132A, except slightly better. And being smaller is no bad thing when you're in a tank that only has 50mm of armour, especially when you're cornered by a whole bunch of enemies who can't actually shoot at you. Now, my instinct in this kind of situation would be to turn tail and run, because that's a lot of firepower around the corner of this building, but MisterCro is made of sterner stuff. He's staying here and he's keeping them spotted for the rest of his team, while bouncing shots off the T-49 up ahead, which proves that there is some justice in the world for the Scorpion G driver from the previous game. And here comes the IS-6. Now, what saves MisterCro here is the fact that the IS-6 was looking for the kill on the T-54 lightweight behind him, but he got robbed of the kill by somebody else, and now he's starting to look pretty stupid. Seriously, how do you screw that up? MisterCro just didn't give him anything to shoot at. There was not a lot of cover on the far side of that building, and he's finally gotten the T-49, but he used every inch of it to its fullest possible advantage. And now, of course, he's got the wreck of the IS-6 to shield him, as he misses more shots. While giving his position away. Hello, what's he up to here? Oh, nice one. Yzna there in the T-49 takes out the enemy for him, so he's no longer being spotted. But there are still enemy tanks over there, and I think he's trying to shoulder the wreckage of this IS-6 aside. Oh, he's spotted again, to make a little bit more concealment for him. But, well, the 132A does have a more powerful engine than the 132, but it's still just a light tank. And that's an IS-6. He's making some headway here, but he's not going to be moving that thing anytime fast. Oh, good shot on the move. Avoids the return fire. And he's had enough at this stage of trying to use the IS-6 as a riot shield. And, ooh, that was not good at all. That was a lot of damage. Ooh, and that was even more damage. Oh, crap. Here they come. Watch this. How close was that? That was a good move. Somehow, he's still alive, but he's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place here. Look at this lot. They're all going for him. So, the T-25 pilot is determined to finish him off. And there are three things that are going to factor into what you're about to see here. First, the enemy team wanted to kill that TVP first. Secondly, MisterCro is really, really good at driving light tanks. And thirdly, that WZ-120 down there just didn't want to take a single hit. He has almost all of his health remaining. There goes the T-25 pilot. There's an FV-4202 down there. They're about to be joined by a T-49, and the WZ-120, with nearly 1400 health remaining, does not want to risk getting his paintwork scratched. Okay, there's an E-50M on the corner behind MisterCro, but there's a dead TVP and T-25 pilot just sitting there waiting to be used as cover. There goes the 4202. Here comes the E50M. The balance is now swinging firmly against the WZ120. He couldn't kill MisterCro when they outnumbered him 3 or 4 to 1. And he's got no chance of doing it now. The T49 derped the shot, hit the wreck of the T25 Pilot, I think. So no splash damage even there. So having missed his shot, the T49 is now relocating because he's paying attention at the map as MisterCro just keeps putting shot after shot into this Tier 9 medium. And the T49 is relocating to react to the threat posed by Yuzna's T49 approaching from the southeast. Meanwhile, the WZ-120 continues trying to burrow deeper into that wall. Oh, that could go either way, by the way. Look at... Oh, MisterCro's got him. But I'm just paying attention to what's going on over there with Yuzna, who's in a little bit of a Mexican standoff with the enemy T-49. They're both one-shot kill for each other, and they're just sort of having a game of chicken there, waiting to see who's going to blink first, as MisterCro is attempting to get around there and resolve the matter, but no, Yuzna takes him out. MisterCro wasn't needed, but his gun is loaded, 4 enemy tanks remaining, and he should be able to get some opportunity fire into them as they're engaged with friendly tanks to the front. First the Batchat. Did that actually bounce off a 100mm gun bounced off a Batchat? Really? I bet the Scorpion G driver in the last game is laughing his ass off. Takes out the 1 artillery, 2 enemy tanks left, that Batchat and a Grilla 15. 1 more kill for a Top Gun. Come on, MisterCro, you can do it. No, he's not going to get the Batchat, but there's the Grilla 15 just sitting right there. Come on, reload the gun, reload the gun, reload the... Damn it, somebody else took him out. Just the Batchat. He's going to get 1 shot, and ramming speed. Kamikaze for the win. Top Gun, 6 kills in the WZ-132A. Much better result than the previous match. I always like watching MisterCro play, especially when he's in his light tanks, because he really does love his light tanks, and I suspect that he's not too upset with the changes in patch 9.18. A lot of people are complaining that Wargaming have just turned the light tanks into budget medium tanks and nothing more, and there's certainly some truth to that, but well, budget medium tank is really the way that MisterCro's always played his light tanks, so he probably isn't complaining too much. Always a pleasure to feature his replays. And if you like what you've seen and you want to see more, he does of course stream regularly on Twitch. He's an EU community contributor. He comes from Croatia, but he currently lives in Germany. He's fluent in multiple languages and streams World of Tanks in both Croatian and English. Details down below in the video description. Always a pleasure to feature his replays, and I hope you enjoyed watching them as much as I did. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.